Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by at power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show with your host, Andy Neer, where we equip and educate contractors to enter the commercial roofing industry. And so I'm really excited today to have a guest from Canada, which is actually Adam lives just northeast of me, not very far. So welcome to the show, Adam Sand.
Thank you very much, Andy. I'm glad to be here. It's really cool. I actually listened to a couple episodes before I came online, and I like what you're doing, and I appreciate the message that you're sending. So I was happy to get invited on, and I'm excited to see what I can share with everybody else. I
appreciate that. And you own a company in I forget which Canada city it is.
Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay, Edmonton. I should know that. That's where the Oilers are, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So roofing ain't no joke up there in Canada from what Michigan gets its snow, but I know you get an awful lot of cold up there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's basically, I feel like it's not as bad as some people think, but we get a few weeks here where it's like minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And so, it's impossible to run a company. There's essentially about 5 months a year that are very questionable weather, right? You're basically either doing new construction because you get to kind of look the other way on the fact that the shingles don't seal because it's not a homeowner on the other end of the transaction, it's just a builder. There's a lot of things that you have to I guess we found other ways to work around it, but there's a lot of roofers that have to kind of look the other way on things that they know aren't great because they need to keep an income, right? Yep. And that's one of the challenges of the Canadian roofing industry is you basically look at the revenue of a company in mid to northern Canada, and essentially it's a half a year roofing company.
Yep, I did many high-end cottage, high-end luxury homes on Lake Michigan since I was 18, and I never knew anything different. I just thought it was normal to put shingles on the wintertime because that's when the cottagers weren't living in their house. And so they wanted their house built between summers. And so I usually was doing the roof in the wintertime. And, but it was just a given, 1 out of 10 houses, 2 out of 10 houses, we'd go back in the spring and fix 2 or 3 shingles that blew off. But it wasn't all the time. And a lot of those houses are still got their original roof on them 20 years later today. So, but I get what you mean. It's not ideal.
Yeah. Like you kind of like, you look at the rest of the roofing community and you're like, yeah, if you lived in, North Carolina, you would assume that you would just never, ever blow snow off of plywood and then go start banging shingles on in minus 18 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought you on today, and I want to let the viewers know, there was a couple posts you had back in the spring or summer talking about your stance on how subcontractors are viewed and how they're used and maybe sometimes even abused. And so there's probably quite a few people in the roofing community, they don't even know this is an issue. They're just like, business is business. But there is something that's really changed in the industry. It might have changed even more depending on what state you're in, because some states like we're in Michigan, so we're a little bit behind the times, but some of the bigger cities 10, 15 years ago, it's really where people started saying, I don't want as much liability, or maybe I'm just a roofing company that does the sales and not necessarily the production. So, why should I be carrying all of these insurance costs? And so people just started, layering their liability and saying, I'm just going to have somebody else install and carry all the insurance. And so I knew you had a pretty good stand on this, but I've seen a lot of pushback from a lot of different people on that subject. And so I just wanted to reach out to you and say, is this a problem you see that's going to get worse or that it's hurting the workforce
I think it's a problem that's going to get better, and I'll tell you why. I kind of say a lot that there's 24 customers who want a roof, 23 companies that want to sell them a roof, and 22 roofers to hire to do the roof. The power is in the hand of the labor, because I call roofers Canada, or like, because you got to remember, I'm a Canadian roofing company, right? First, right? Yes, I have this other business that gets me a little bit more, I guess, of a reach in my voice down to the States. But I'm a Canadian roofing company owner first. And as a Canadian roofing company owner, I see that the labor shortage is a real thing. And so the power is in the hands of the labor force, because in Canada, we're not blessed with the two things that America is, which is great weather and Mexicans. And so right now, it's just a given, a assumed fact, a forever truth, just basically a foundation of expectation that there will always be somebody willing to just show up and do the roof, because there's an abundance of illegal immigration in the United States. But there is pathways to citizenship coming. There's amnesty coming. The United States is moving in that direction. Even Republicans are moving in that direction. And so I think that you're going to see legalization of labor to be a big factor. And I think what's going to fund it or fuel it is the fact that most Americans think, well, it's impossible. You couldn't compete in a non-subcontracted labor environment because the workers' compensation costs are 26% and they're so high. Well, you have to ask yourself a few very common sense questions. Someone should be paying that, right? Mm-hmm. So how is it really impossible to compete? We're all, not we, but anybody who's saying it's impossible to compete is turning a blind eye to the fact that someone is clearly not paying that 26%. And the reason that it's 26% there and 6% in Canada is because we don't have this open border policy that's and this turning a blind eye to the illegal labor, right? So when you allow them to come in and then you allow them to work for you and don't check the paperwork properly to make sure they're legal, you're enabling this circumstance to exist. So then the few injuries that happen in all of our trades are not spread out amongst many policyholders. It's spread out amongst the few that are actually choosing to pay into their workers' compensation. So in Canada, a high roofing rate is like 6 or 8%, right? In the States, it's 20-something%. And so that driving that cost down will fuel a lot of the legalization of labor, because if you make the labor legal and force them to pay workers' compensation, that price will come down because more people will be paying in. The other factor that's coming is that we've learned that if you give people $2,000 to stay home, they'll figure out a way to live on it if they don't have to go to your crappy, soul-sucking job. Right? Mm-hmm. So bad bosses are being eliminated by socialist policy, right? You have to be a good boss, a good leader. You have to take people's personal and professional goals in mind in order to get them to come work for you. So the fact that your subs are having the same problem that you're going to have, which is that they're having a hard time replacing their labor force with new young people that are coming into the trade. The reason for that is your subs are not business people. They're not great leaders. They don't have leadership skills. So they're not great at attracting people and taking their personal and professional goals to heart. So they're not attracting people to come into the trade. The trade will suffer as long as you put your ability to do the stuff that you sell in the hands of people who aren't great business owners and great leaders. You will continue to suffer the labor force, because people would rather get paid $2,000 to stay home and watch Netflix than go out and work for $5,000 because their boss sucks. And we want to think that people are lazy or that this new generation is just a bunch of losers. But no, the fact is the leadership is a bunch of losers. And if you have losers for leaders, nobody's going to follow. So as long as you put the labor force and the future of the labor force in the hands of non-business owners, so that when your potential new hire, because if you are a company that subcontracts out your labor, you're handing over the entry-level labor, right? The people who would eventually grow up to be shinglers or torch handlers, or people who are properly able to do the higher like the more focused details of an install. You're handing over that entry-level job to a person who sucks at leadership, who sucks at teaching and coaching and mentoring. And you're just thinking, oh, he's just a foreman and that's all he needs to be, is just good at doing the detail work. And then he'll just, by way of some invisible hand of capitalism, become a great leader. It's not happening. And so these people are looking at their foreman on these sub crews and going, I don't want to be like this guy. I better get out of this job as quick as possible. I'll do it for a summer gig, but I'm not going to make a career out of this garbage. Look at that guy. I don't want to be anything like that guy. And
I've
so
also noticed that with subs that they don't, they're not very good. Most of them aren't very good salesmen, because all you got to do with a general contractor is typically be available. You don't have to be a good salesman. You're just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I got 8 guys and we know how to do presidentials, or we know how to do, okay, let me know availability and la, 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 la. But as soon as I start talking to them about, well, how about you transition from working for GCs and getting your own work with building owners or homeowners, all of a sudden they freak out. They're like, I don't know how to sell. Like, I don't know how to sell to homeowners. I'm more comfortable with just being available to a GC. And so I've noticed, like, it scares the crap out of them to actually, now I've got to be a salesman to sell each job.
Well, there's the real, it forces us all back to reality that the salesperson and the GC, or the company owner, right? They need the install labor in order to fulfill the work that they sell. And the labor force, the people who are craftsmen, tradesmen, people who enjoy working with their hands, building things, knowing that when they're done their job, they're done their job, when they like to look back and see what they did each day, and they like the idea of having something they can go to without school, where they can get a disproportionate advantage in their ability to earn an income without the right last name, the right uncle, the right neighborhood, the right, they can just jump into something and earn a good income. Well, they also need the salesman and the leader. The only thing that I would suggest is they don't need to be separate businesses. They don't need to be separate companies. They need to all live under the same roof and have the same culture. And the companies that figure that out will be the winner. You're already seeing consolidation in the industry, and you're going to see an entry from big tech. And if you don't think that in 10 years, the industry of roofing and construction overall is going to look drastically different than it does today, you're going to sound an awful lot like a taxi driver or a bookstore or a hotel or the newspaper or any of the other of the 50 industries that have been disrupted by tech already. And they went to disrupt industries where, the average revenue per newspaper reader was like $3 a month. You know what I mean? The average value of a medium use transportation user, like a taxi cab user, was like $300 a month, right? The average value of a construction customer is in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. If you don't think that the geniuses at big tech aren't coming for this industry, you're out of your mind. Why do you think all the same venture capital firms that invested in big tech are now sending their best people and all their money to invest in guys like JobNimbus? You think it's because JobNimbus made the best CRM software? It's garbage. It's the data inside that CRM system, the mass adoption from the roofing industry, they just feed that into a computer that's just crunching everything that can be known about the construction industry. And then they're going to come and they're basically waiting for like the proliferation of autonomous driving vehicles being legal, 5G internet being everywhere, and allowing a drone to be flown remotely so they can remote monitor job sites by sending a car there, flying a drone in the air, sending the footage back to the main office. As soon as those 3 things come in, 5G, autonomous self-driving vehicles, and the like remote licensing of drone flight, construction's under attack the day it happens.
Yep.
We'd like to take just a quick break to thank our sponsor, Top Roof Marketing, a full-service marketing group that specializes in the commercial roofing industry. If you're looking to boost the commercial side of your business, they have lots of ideas to connect you with building owners who are looking for help. Visit toproofmarketing.com.
We're already kind of seeing the birthing pains of this already happening, right? Like, it used to be when I started, if you had a roofing company, like, you had already grown up with a hammer in your hand, you'd gone through the installation, either you or your dad or whatever, like, but now, just in the last 5-10 years, you see these, lack of better words, but nerds and geeks come in that know how to deal with tech. They know how to stay on the leading edge of tech. and they hire the people that know how to do the labor part. You know, they have sales guys that might have never swung a hammer, and they run a business. They don't know how to swing a hammer. And I know they get blasted by the people that are laborers, right? Like, oh, that guy owns a roofing company. He doesn't even know what end of the nail is. But it's like, but he has a $10 million business. What are you making fun of him for? So I'm seeing people that are comfortable with tech, comfortable with scaling, come in and take advantage of the industry already.
And that's really what's coming. And so the labor side of the business is going to be impacted by this. And the confusion of hiring these subcontracted companies that have illegal labor and all the layers of insurance and I mean, just the very thought that's like, if you're good at roofing, you can only get a job as a roofer, as if you go buy a $60,000 truck and a trailer and go buy $10,000 worth of tools, hire 5 guys, get a QuickBooks account, get business license, get workers' compensation, get an accountant, go and find a way to get a logo, but don't put your logo on your truck. And if anybody asks you who did the work, hand out my business card, not yours, and don't wear any of your shirts on my site. You know, that is going away, because the power is going to the labor force. And so even if you see this disruption from tech, and you see the nerds and the salespeople coming in, the power will always go into the hands of the people who can put the work on, until the robots come and replace them. That's when they're really in trouble. But until then, they're in a position of power. They're going to start choosing to work for bosses, right, who have a focus on their personal and professional goals, because these subs are starting to see that they're never getting out of the rat race. They're basically just waiting for that next work order. They don't actually own their own business. They don't, and the government is moving towards that too. I mean, look what they did to Tesla, right? They extended the EV credit to all unionized factories, which hurt Tesla. And I don't believe in unions, right? I believe the unions kind of facilitate and structure, like basically structure incompetence, and they make it so that you can't fire the bad people. If you hire a seasonal worker, you can't promote the seasonal worker ahead of a worker with seniority, even if the worker with seniority isn't as good as a seasonal worker. I don't believe in the unionization, but I do, and I believe that unionization only really is necessary in a labor abundance where laborers are being abused. I think that in a labor shortage, you don't need it, but tricking them into thinking they're business owners is abusive. It creates a disconnected experience for the customer, and it's not running the taxes properly, which is abusing every taxpayer and every citizen, because billions of dollars in taxes are being avoided by misclassification of labor. And so these are all big high level topics that, I mean, most roofers are like, yeah, but I don't like, they're focused on themselves. And I'm just saying that I'm, you know, I'll use a Canadian hockey analogy, of course, but I want to skate where the puck is going, not where it's been. And the way I look at things, when we do our traction meetings, when we talk about accountability, we talk about our numbers, when we're analyzing the business from, you know, 100-foot view above it, you know, we're looking at what's going to give us a disproportionate advantage over our competitors. I truly believe that the people who have the roofers get the work, because there's 24 companies, right, trying to sell to 23 customers, but there's only 22 roofers. Like there's a disconnect there. And so if we have a labor force that's appreciated, that feels like we're doing things to help them accomplish their personal and professional goals, where they're being taught how to be better leaders, when they're giving a pathway to become a superintendent, quality control, safety, sales, you know, getting into management, maybe getting into some of the marketing side of things, you know, being part of a podcast or being a part where they get to express their creative side, you know, because they're all individuals that are worth more than just the work that they're doing every day, right? I believe that they're going to own the labor force, and that's how we're going to grow $1 billion company, right? And that's a scary thing for me to say on the internet, $1 billion roofing company. But I believe that it's very simple. It's 10 markets, 5,500 customers per market. Even in my tiny little Canadian province, 65,000 people a year just redo their roof. Forget siding and solar. But 10 markets, 5,500 customers per market, $18,000 per ticket. That's $1 billion. That's a reachable target for me in 13 years. And I just think that if I'm going to skate where the puck is going, the labor force has already told us for 2 years, pay me $2,000, $2,400, I'll stay home and watch Netflix, right? But you're going to have to pay me way more to get me out of the house. And if you're going to pay more to get me out of the house, you better be a good employer too, right?
And it's not just pay, right? It's the perks and benefits, and it's the culture.
Perks, benefits, the environment, the culture, the pathway to a better life, the feeling that their boss takes a consideration of their personal and professional goals. That, I mean, I know that, like, I have a guy here who cleans the toilet in the office, right? Like, we're in the sergeant's office right now. He cleans the toilets. He goes and delivers, if they need a downspout extension or an elbow or a couple of packs of nails or staples or something like that, James, right? He does that job. Most people would say he's not worth me knowing this stuff, but I know that his fiance's name is Isabel. I know that he bought his car a year ago and he's paying interest in the teens, and he's getting calls from the dealerships that are trying to get him to refinance his car. And I'm hooking him up with people I know to make sure he gets a good deal on his car. That's just James. I can do that with any employee in the company. But I need to know because if James comes to me with a money issue or needing a raise, does he actually need a raise, or does he need to lower the interest rate on his car?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, does he maybe need financial guidance? Like, a lot of these people, you got to remember, some of these guys are 20, 30, 40 years old. This is when time was a baby, right? Yeah. And someone fed them the brain nutrients that landed them where they are today. And a good leader wants employees. Weak leaders want subs, right? And that's me throwing my weight out there. But I'm telling you, if you're a weak leader, you see the value in trying to subcontract leadership. If you're a strong leader, you want to control everything because you want to know that to get the advantage to beat your competitors, you want to control everything. You would want someone else to have control over that new employee's experience. You want control over that new employee's experience because you want to make sure that every person who comes into the roofing trade gets the best version of the roofing trade, that gets the best experience, because the cost of retraining laborers and retraining shinglers is incredibly high. So you want to make sure that you're giving everybody the best opportunity. And this exists in all labor. This is whether it's commercial roofing, flat roofing, residential roofing, or plumbing, or electrical, or basically any job right now is suffering from a labor shortage. And it's because of piss poor leadership. The whole issue with the California, right? California, why is California having problems? Really, the real source of the problem is because everybody went to become independent operators because no one wanted to hire drivers. And then they created a new law that allowed them to control emissions on vehicles, which also at the same time banned owner operators. And now they don't have enough truckers to get these stuff out of these California ports. Why? Because everybody wanted to just release the liability of all these trucks driving around and subcontract all these drivers. And the real pathway forward is going to be, we need a reemergence of leadership in these countries.
Well, that leads me to another question. So talking about the labor shortage, or sometimes I don't know if it's half and half labor shortage and also half just unskilled labor, because we can't just have a million laborers coming to the market that have no skills, right? There's also a lack of skilled labor. So, but there's still the same amount of high school kids coming out of school that, they need a job. And there's a lot of them like me, they don't want to go to college, In fact, I didn't want to even go to vocational center until my friend encouraged me. Hey, you know what, why don't you go to, as a 13th year student, to vocational center? I said, what the heck, why not? And so that's what really opened my eyes to the building trades. And I was, when I went to building trades, it was the whole house. But when I went through it, I kind of realized I liked the roofing part of it. And, make a long story short, I ended up going into roofing. I did exterior remodeling, but then every year I kind of chopped head decking off, then I chopped windows off, then I chopped the siding off, because roofing was where the money was at. It was like, okay, I make more money. When I'm going to do a siding job, I'm like, oh, when can this get done so I can go make money on a roofing shop? And so eventually I was just doing roofing. But this is me, an American, asking a Canadian, because we both had the labor issue. Do you think there's something we could do, maybe a campaign or some kind of ad or some kind of, I've had this idea in my mind for the last 6 months about a national ad that appeals to 11th and 12th graders, or maybe 13th year students, about considering the roofing industry? Because I think most people, when they think about that, they think of a kid walking up this 30-foot ladder with a bundle of shingles on his shoulder. And that's what they think. And little do they know that there's a lot of equipment out now that actually makes it easier to do the job. Maybe more so in commercial than in residential, because in commercial, they've actually designed a lot of equipment now, robots and carts and cranes, and they got all the stuff now that the labor isn't quite as hard. Residential still a little bit labor intensive, but I think that there's a lot of people that would be happy doing the roofing industry if they just knew a little bit more about it. So what do you think about some kind of campaign appealing to?
I think that you're going to see that. I think that is the writing's already on the wall. As you see like SIRC buying up all these companies like Cornerstone, Hunter's company, or you see Apple, right? And they're merging with Crest, and I know they've got more in the pipeline. As you start to see a lot of this consolidation, then you're going to see that the reason those companies succeed is because those companies have been identified as having strong leaders. And I believe you will see a national campaign that does highlight the roofing industry and more, but more labor industries. But I think that when you see you're seeing it all happen kind of at the same time, like the post-secondary education debt crisis, right? That you're seeing that it's just really becoming like it's now becoming a policy issue. Like, what are we going to do about all this student debt that hasn't resulted in student prosperity, right? What are we going to do about that? So as that policy issue continues to get more and more attention, as you see more nationalization of roofing companies and construction companies, you're going to start to see that, you're going to see nationalization of ad campaigns and messaging. It is all going to come together to say that, the trades are a respectable thing. And the biggest factor is going to be getting out all these subs that have broken, fragmented safety policies and standards, right? Because if you have to really make it so that your mom, right? Because moms and dads are not raising their sons and daughters to be roofers, right? It's like doctor, dentist, lawyer, right? If you end up a roofer, your mom's asking, like, I stayed off the pole. How did you end up a roofer? Yeah. And that's the way society looks at us, right? And the society doesn't understand that. You're right. Like, even in residential, you've got crane loaded roofs now. You've got, you still have to carry a bundle and move it around on a roof, but you're seeing increased safety standards and stuff like that little Johnny can get up on a roof and come home safe, and the market is going to go up. The cost of roofs is going to go up. The caliber of the roofing materials is going to go up. You're going to see the merging of solar and roofing. And I believe that'll be the biggest catalyst, is that right now, little Johnny goes out to be a roofer. Mom wonders, did I end up on the pole? Dad thinks, did I work too much? Right. But little Johnny goes out to become a solar installer for Solar City, and they're proud. He's part of the green energy revolution. Good for you, son. Yeah. Right. So as a solar and roofing industries emerge with, you're seeing like JF has got a solar shingle they're coming out with. F-Wave has a solar shingle they're coming out with. And you've got already in their entrance like Tesla and Luma. As you see more and more of the merging of solar and roofing, and I believe you'll see it in siding as well. I think that pretty much every surface, they're going to start trying to figure out ways to make them photovoltaic. And I'm not doing this as some green liberal person. I'm saying it just makes good business sense that if you're going to spend $15,000 on something you're going to throw in the garbage, you might as well spend $25,000 on something that also decouples you from a lifelong contract with a power company that can change its price at any given point in time. And as much as some people, like roofers, especially when they hear me talk about solar, they get their back against a wall. I mean, I think that solar equals the American freedom that the American dream of freedom that people are wanting, because it allows you to be independent, which independence is a core value of Americans at heart, right? So the ability to just decentralize the power grid system and to be independent of power producers by producing your own power is no different than farmers producing their own food, right? And then, I mean, not being taxed on your energy consumption because you produce your own. So I believe that there's a room for both sides of this debate at the table. And as those industries merge, larger nationalization of roofing companies, policy around the student debt crisis showing that that going off and getting a marketing degree wasn't a pathway to becoming a millionaire, and parents starting to see pride in their sons to become solar roofers or roofing contractors, right? I believe that you're going to see that improve. So we're marching in that direction. It's about whether the people listening to this podcast are going to skate where the puck is going or skate where the puck has been. Are they going to be part of the solution, or are they going to be a part of something that's already been pre-established as a problem? Right. It's already happening. There's already smart people in the world that are solving this problem, that are fixing these issues, that are seeing the opportunity and solving the hard problems. It's just, are we going to be a part of dragging our feet on the problem and still subcontract every single job by default? Or are we going to start seeing that we need a reemergence of leadership and recognizing that we don't have leadership skills, we aren't born with them. They need to be something that we cultivate and learn and grow. And then we solve that leadership problem that exists in the world by being better leaders ourselves, and then watching our personal fortunes flourish because we choose to recognize the need for leadership in this world, not just in roofing, everywhere, right? I mean, why do we think we've had such a problem with COVID? It's because nobody trusts our leaders. The foundation of leadership is trust. Nobody trusts the government because there hasn't been a trustworthy leader. People would argue that Trump was trustworthy. Others would argue that he wasn't. People would argue that Biden's trustworthy. Others would argue that he wasn't. We haven't had a truly great unifying leader, right? And that we're going to see a reemergence of that because people are seeking it out. Just the same reason why people won't go to work. People would rather stay home for $2,000 and watch Netflix than go out and work for a crappy boss for a little bit more money.
Yep. And I've been saying this for a long time. People say there's no good laborers out there. And I say, being a boss and hiring workers is like a good marriage. I mean, if you want a good marriage, you got to be the kind of person that the other person wants to be married to. You can't just say they have to be a better spouse. It starts with me. It starts with me being a better boss, because ask yourself honestly, would you be the kind of person you'd want to work for every day? And if you're like, no, I'm a jerk, well then, well, we're coming up on our time here. So any closing comments about subcontractors and,
well, I think I always just want to say that a lot of people think that when I say that they avoid the subcontractor scam, I'm not saying that subcontractors are scammers. What I'm saying is that when Joe Roof Salesman sells you a roof under the guise of buy a roof from me because I'm GAF certified and I'm not advertising on Craigslist, and you shouldn't hire that guy on Craigslist because he's not trustworthy. You want to hire me because I'm wearing a polo shirt with a logo on it. You don't want to hire those band of misfits because that's not safe, right? And then you sell the job and then you go hire the exact company demographic that you just threw under the bus to get your sale at 20% higher. And then you basically are just getting paid your 20% of the roof price or whatever because you have bus chucked the guy that you're now going to go hire to do the roof. That's a scam. And homeowners should be asking, do you actually create employment and do you actually hire and manage the people that are doing my roof? Or do you just come check their work when it's done after all the stuff that could go wrong has already been done? It doesn't mean that every subcontractor does roofing badly. It just means that the roofing company you're hiring doesn't have a way to know, right? Yeah. And I believe that this is the world that we want to live in, and I live it every day. I don't subcontract. I hire in-house workers. I figure out how to create employment year round when there's minus 40 degrees Celsius weather and you have to deal with all that. So I know what all those challenges are like. I'm living proof that it can be done. So I just want to make sure that every subcontractor out there sees that I'm not against you. I believe that you should put a 6-foot wide logo on your truck. And because at the end of the day, the salesman needs you more than you need the salesman. And there will be a company out there that'll say, you know what, fine, show up. You got a logo on your truck, whatever, man. I need your help. I sold 100 roofs. I need someone to do it. If you're going to show up with your logo on your truck, I don't have a choice. I just think every subcontractor should go and put their logo 6 feet tall inside of their truck, wear it loud and proud, and let the real invisible hand of capitalism sort out who the best is.
So I had one of my guys that did a job for me. It's a system that we didn't do. So I had to sub it out to this other guy. And but he used to work for me. Of course, he showed up with his logos on his truck. And of course, the customer says, I see that you have a company here with a different logo on it. Are they your guys or are they their own or whatever? I just honest with them. I said, so some projects we do sub out if it's a certain type of project, but they've been trained, they're certified, They've gone through, the training with us to make sure that they meet our requirements. I've not in this particular guy, I've had a relationship with him for 10 years. It's not like I just checked him out, last month and hired him, which I've done before and got burned on, a new sub, and you're like, hey, I made a bad decision. He screwed up on a roof. But they were fine with it at the end, as long as they knew, like, I'm still going to check in on this job. I'm still going to follow up and give you updates. I'm still going to hold the warranty, all that stuff. So,
and we do the same thing. We subcontract our gutters, and we tell our customer, we don't do gutters. We subcontract them. We subcontract to one of two companies. We're going to tell you which company it is. We tell our sub, put your logos on your trucks loud and proud, put your logo on your trailer loud and proud. And then we actually, part of our process is after a gutter deal is closed, done, install completed, that when we invoice, we actually tell the customer to ask the customer to leave a Google review for our subcontractor, because we want them to help build their business. We want to help build our sub's business, because we're not pretending that we know how to do gutters. We're just saying that we're a roofing company, and it's probably a good idea to get your gutters done at the same time. And we can help facilitate the project because we feel competent enough to manage both an in-house roofing crew and an out-of-house subcontracted gutter crew, and coordinating those two trades on site for you. And we'll carry the warranty because we'll take responsibility for the subs that we hire. But we also, if they do a good job, help them grow their business. If we do a bad job, then it's on me because I'm the one who chose to bring them to the table. So we do everything we can to try and be as transparent as possible on that. And I mean, our customers appreciate it, and our subs certainly appreciate the fact that they're getting Google reviews for their hard work.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for being on the show today. I know you're a really busy guy, and I appreciate you taking your time to talk about this subject. I believe this is a subject that really nobody's talking about, because there's so many other, other subjects that get the headlines. But I think this is an issue that subcontractors deal with every single day, and they just don't even realize that there might be a solution. So thank you for us talking about it. Hopefully there'll be some more communication about it, and things will get better. And I'm always an advocate for this. I was a guy that was a sub early on, and when I first started, but I kind of worked myself out of there because I would tell my general contractors, I don't care if you promise me 6 more houses, my price is my price, and I'm going to give you the same price as I give, Mary Smith down the road. I might give them a little discount if they give me a lot of work, but I would never prostitute myself out to general contractors because, they're always like, well, if you do this one, I got 5 more behind it. And it's like,
of course you do. There's nobody who wants to roof anymore. So everybody's looking for a roofer. Of course you have 5 more. I mean, that's like, congratulations. You're in an industry with a labor shortage, and you have customers that need to get a roof done, and you happen to broadcast your logo. No, I believe in empowering the labor for sure.
And in a closing comment for me, I would just say, if you're a subcontractor and you're probably pretty comfortable. I've seen a lot of subcontractors very comfortable, and they're like, that's just who I am. I don't go get my own customers. But if you're feeling like, hey, maybe I can do some more, maybe I want to grow, I would encourage you. You're probably smarter than what you think you are. You just need to be courageous enough to put your own stake in the ground and say, because I know a lot of guys are like, I don't want to go get my own customers, then I'll disrupt my relationship with my GC. Yeah, that probably will happen. Maybe it won't, because if your GC is understanding, but it is great being more independent, knowing that, I can choose my clients and pick my clients, and I don't have anybody in between me and the final owner. But that's just me. But I do know there's a lot of guys out there that are rock star subs that I know that they could make the leap to being independent if they wanted to. So I say, look into that. You can talk to Adam or me about that if you want to. Reach out to us and maybe give you some advice. Happy to help. So thanks for being on today, and I appreciate your time, and good luck through the 40 below zero winter that's ahead of us. Will do. Thanks again. Talk to you guys again later. Yep. See you, Adam. Bye.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.